My 27F marriage is falling apart with the love of my life, 32M, because of his brother, 35M. I will preface this by stating that I love my husband and will do anything it takes to stay with him till the end. We dated for 2 years before marrying last year, and before him, my life was a mess. Now I am the happiest person alive with him and never want this relationship to end. I will use fake names for my husband, John, and his brother, Brian. And #X200B. To start, this all began a year ago before the wedding. Brian had always been a screw-up his entire life, but 2 years ago sobered up and moved in with his and John's parents. John's father owns a car dealership and is quite wealthy. John grew up quite rich but never liked that lifestyle and decided to become a nurse instead of working for his father. Brian started working at the dealership and has turned his life around, according to John's parents. And #X200B. I had met a few times and he had creeped me out and was very inappropriate. He commented about my ass and even tried to grope me once, but John stopped him. I was very adamant before the wedding about not inviting Brian. John has a strong relationship with both his parents and it's a reason why I admire him. So when John's parents would not attend if Brian could not, I gave in and invited Brian. That is where everything went wrong. And #X200B. The wedding was amazing, but Brian came up with a so-called prank. He found a half-full can of red paint in the church utility closet and thought it would be funny to dump it on me after the ceremony. When I went to the bathroom, he jumped around the corner and splashed the paint all over me and the dress. I was hysterical and wanted to call the cops on Brian. John calmed me down and kicked Brian out of the wedding. A bridesmaid lived nearby and I used her shower and she lent me a dress to wear. From then on I have never talked or been near Brian. John is very understanding but every year insists we go to his parents for Thanksgiving and Christmas. He will not budge and says that he cannot cut his parents out of his life. However, Brian is still living with his parents and attended Thanksgiving and Christmas with them last year. I somehow got through both last year, never going near Brian and staying next to John the entire time. And #X200B. Last week I got sent an image of a penis. Then a text following saying, "I bet ya mine is bigger than my brother's." I do not know how he got a hold of my number and I was disgusted beyond all belief. I wanted to again call the cops, but John told me that would just allow for Brian to torment us more. Yesterday, I told John the first will not attend Thanksgiving or Christmas with his family under no circumstances. John was very conflicted about the whole matter. He said that his parents are great people and that Thanksgiving and Christmas are all he has with them. And #X200B. This has been by far the biggest strain on our relationship and I can feel John and I moving apart. I do not know how to discuss this with John and I need help. I have never done this before and for the first time, I am going to the internet with this issue and instead of John. And #X200B. What can I do to fix this situation? Am I being irrational with my demands? And #X200B. TLDR, my husband's brother, who I have a toxic history with, sent me a dick pic and I am fighting with my husband about whether or not to go meet his parents and his brother for the holidays. Forward the text to his mom and ask her if she is okay with her son treating you like this. Holy shit. You need to sit your husband down and have a serious talk with him because he is ultimately enabling his brother's behavior. His brother is literally sexually harassing and assaulting you, even when you haven't seen him for months and have very little contact with him. What might happen if he manages to get you alone, even for a few minutes? Had John spoken to his brother about this behavior at all? If they're not willing to handle it internally, you need to do what is best for you in case it escalates further, even including involving the police. And if your husband insists on holidays with his family over your safety, then he can go alone. Your marriage is falling apart because of your husband. Jesus Christ, reread what you wrote. A man assaulted you on your wedding day and is now sexually harassing you, and your pathetic coward loser of a husband doesn't defend or do right by you. Your husband is a piece of shit. Go to the cops already, just like you should have done at the wedding. Your man is not fighting for you and that's complete bullshit. If your man had any balls he would have squashed this at the absolute, very beginning. I know you say he's the love of your life, but are you really sure he loves you? Love would not let another be assaulted, especially sexually. An ultimatum is defined in order. Your husband clearly isn't willing to take the necessary measures to protect. This says a lot about him. Clearly, he seems to care more about his family, more than he cares about his wife. The person he is supposed to spend his life with. I want to ask, have you tried telling your in-laws about Brian is doing? If so and they have done nothing, then I would recommend you call the police. I only see two outcomes. Either you learn to stand for yourself or you grit your teeth and suffer through it because clearly, your husband isn't going to help. Make your choice. You know what is eventually going to happen? He is going physically harm you and probably rape you. He has you in his sights. This is escalating. He's a twisted individual surrounded by enablers. I want you to picture what will happen after he attacks you. I want you to imagine what your husband will say and how he will of course downplay it and how he will expect you to shove your feelings aside and make nice for the holidays. Now instead picture yourself being your own hero. You'll do anything it takes to stay with a man that allows you to be harassed by his brother? Really? Because your husband is a poor excuse for a man and a husband. The warning signs were there before you got married. Your husband does not protect you as he should. Yes, he should protect you even from his toxic brother. You should probably cross-post to R, just know so. He's physically assaulted you once. Sexually harassed you at least twice. There seems to be an increasingly alarming trend. I worry that if you don't report this to the police he is going to end up doing far worse than he has already. Dude, he threw paint on you on your wedding day. I'm shocked your husband even has anything to do with him at this point. Call the cops anyway. Fuckhead has had enough chances. His parents aren't great people if they're aware of these incidents and still allowing their idiot son to be around when you come over. This family has protected Brian and are clearly stating you're not important enough to put above him. Your husband needs to stand up for you. Why is he just brushing this off? Do you want to deal with this for the rest of your life? Also, stop giving into these people. Twice in this post you've bent to their own demands. Just let him go to the holidays by himself. Go to your parents or hang out with a friend instead. So, if your husband is so amazing, why doesn't he stand up for his wife? Here's a solution. You hold Thanksgiving, invite your Mill and Phil, but not Bill. If he so much as dare step 1 foot on your property, call the cops for trespassing and sexual assault. Your husband should be defending you, instead he's letting you be attacked and encouraging his brother by not making clear the consequence of his actions. If he can't agree to having Thanksgiving at your home with his parents but no bill, it's time to get a new husband. Your husband is an idiot. Call the cops. Fuck anyone who tries to sweep this under the rug. The guy clearly needs to be locked up or have the shit kicked put of him. If I had a brother that would do that to my GF wife I would cut all contact with him. I know the situation sucks, your husband is torn between his parents and you but he should take your side in this situation. Forward that message to his parents and tell them that you want come over to visit as long as his brother lives there but first talk to your husband, don't sow anything behind his back. Sorry, John's a cunt too. If he just thinks you can ignore this shit. The older brother is a douche. And it sounds like he is jealous of what his younger brother has and the life he leads. The parents don't see it. I have a cousin who is married and has been for some years. They have had an agreement that works for them, and it is simple. She doesn't have to go to any of his family events, and he doesn't have to go to any of hers. I have never met him. She joked one year at a family reunion about having a life-size cutout of him to place in the chair next to her. She takes all the strange questions from the elderly relatives. Are you divorced? Did his name pass away? In stride. Concerning the dick pic, you could text back, is that a shanker? Looks like you have a shanker. Jesus, lady, your husband is an enabling coward. His brother sexually harassed you, ruined your wedding dress and wedding night, and sent you a dick pic and yet your husband did nothing. His parents did nothing? In fact, his parents defended this failure of a human being to the point of not attending their other son's wedding if he couldn't go? Have some self-respect here. Your husband prioritizes his immediate family over you. Think about it. If you have kids with this man, your kids will be around his brother, because I'm sure the kids need to have a relationship with their grandparents. Do you want that? Please tell me you don't. Love or not, you're setting yourself up for failure. Leave. Call the cops. You do not need your husband's permission. And his brother is working up to raping you. These creative writing pieces are getting better. Your husband is a pushover. To allow his brother to do this. What does he have on him? Or is he just spineless? Sounds to me like Brian is still a screw-up and is targeting his brother's relationship. Your husband isn't this amazing person, he's allowing you to be tormented by his shitty family. Attending holiday events is the least of your problems. Sounds like you need marriage counseling and your own personal counseling because your relationship doesn't sound healthy. His unsolicited dick pic may be a crime depending on your state, and it's definitely time for you to establish boundaries via text message for recording. You do not need your husband or anyone's permission to file a police report and have a legal representative file for harassment charges on your behalf. At this point he has physically assaulted you on the most special day of your life and sexually assaulted you. He will escalate and the next step seems very scary. You have a duty to protect yourself. Personally, if my husband had been the type of guy to let me get fucked over by his family, I wouldn't have married him, but since you are married you have a few options. First thing is securing your safety and documentation. Hugs. My parents are great people, he said, therefore implying the pain and suffering my brother has put you through via my need to not stand up to my parents and insist on alone time with them without him is less important than my need to continue seeing and placating my parents. Clearly the parents either are ignorant, willfully ignorant, in denial, or at a total loss of what to do about the brother's behavior. They have a hand in victimizing you, too. And your husband is not willing to rock the boat by actually standing up for you. I think you need to address this, and not let it slip because it sounds like a long-term deal-breaker that will eat away at your relationship. Your husband is enabling his brother's abuse of you. This is serious. This is not your situation to fix. You can't change your brother-in-law and in-laws or force your husband to intervene. Outside of attempting marriage counseling or calling the police on the bill, seems like the only power you have here is to stay or leave. If your husband is just going to sweep this under the rug, find someone who actually has a spine. Marriage counseling. Your husband needs to understand that he married you and that you come first. If he still wants to spend time with his parents, invite them into your home or have him go alone. I cringed when I read about him dumping paint on your dress. OMG. And the dick pic? You are not overreacting. This is a bizarre situation and I'd be stressed out just like you are. I hope your hubby comes to his senses. Yay, if my asshat brother does anything like this I'll beat him to pulp. Your husband is okay with his brother sexually and physically assaulting you and sending you unsolicited sick pics? That's horrible. I'm sorry, but I absolutely would never stay with my husband if he had a brother and the brother did all those things to me and my husband didn't do anything to stop it. You need to sit him down and have a talk with him about it and straight up tell him that it's either you or his brother. I also would still try and press charges against the brother, even if you have to do it behind your husband's back. None of this is okay and it was horrifying and infuriating to read. I am so sorry you are going through this, but please stick up for yourself and stand your ground. No one deserves to go through this. I would meet with John and his parents. Show them the dick pic with the text. This could be considered a sexual crime of some kind. Tell John's parents you are terribly uncomfortable with Brian and don't want to be anywhere near him. I can understand why your husband wants holidays with his parents, but he needs to grow a spine and stand up for you. Maybe you can go to your family's home for Thanksgiving and John can go to his parents'. That might motivate your husband to do something about his brother. So the person who is so amazing and loves you so much is allowing his brother to harass you. Okay. Well, all you can do is not go to Thanksgiving. Surely your great love story can survive the holidays apart. Edit. Spelling. Your husband should have your back. No questions asked. Go to the police and inbox for gardening tips on HW. Your husband can grow a pair and start caring about his wife's being abused, harassed. Either this is fake or you need to stop being a doormat and call the cops. Your husband's parents are atrocious, forcing him into your wedding, and your husband should man up and cut them all off if they seriously think this sort of thing is okay. I feel like an easy compromise would be to just allow him to go by himself to his parents. Talk to your husband ASAP. If you value your marriage, you need to be very strong for this conversation. 1. Tell him that you are being targeted by his brother and are scared of him too. Paint on wedding dress was passive-aggressive. 3. Picture of penis as aggressive. 4. What is he waiting for, before he realizes his brother is sick? If your husband doesn't get this, I fear it will continue to escalate and you are not safe. You've got 2 options as I see here. Forward Brian's text to them and show them how he behaves with you. But somehow I've got a feeling they won't care because they seem to be the ones spoiling Brian. Secondly, tell your husband if he wants his parents at Christmas and Thanksgiving, maybe they can come over to your place, but Brian is not allowed to come. This would perhaps ease up the tension between you two. And another one is get a restraining order against Brian. He's a perverted fuck. Host Thanksgiving at your place for the parents only. What did the parents say when he ruined your dress? Your husband is an enabler and so are his parents. This is why Brian will never face any consequences. You're an enabler too by not doing anything about it. You could have called the cops, you could have reported good actions, made them public. Ask him why he thinks it's all right to be around the man who terrified you at your wedding and has continually sexually harassed you. Forward the text to his parents. This is why I will not be attending any events where Brian is present going forward. John's attendance is entirely his own decision. Then encourage John to go to whatever the hell his family invites him to, just without you. This way everyone knows why you're not showing up, and no one can accuse you of trying to isolate John from his family. His parents are in fact not great people. What astounds me is your husband's calmness in all of this, unless you forgot to mention the part where he goes off on your brother. Had my brother been inappropriate towards my wife, and sent a dick pic, all hell would have broken loose. Does he not get upset that his own brother is tormenting you? Can't you and John invite John's parents into your house to celebrate Thanksgiving, etc.? Your husband seems like a nice guy and he is doing what he is doing because he is afraid his relationship with his parents may be at risk and they would take his brother's sides. But he needs to take control of this situation with his brother. I suggest both of you going to meet Phil when brother-in-law is not there, or invite them to your place and confront them together with hubby with this. Show the pics as well. Your marriage is falling apart because your husband doesn't stand up for you. You're being harassed but he only cares about not upsetting mommy and daddy. Your brother-in-law won't stop harassing you, because everyone enables his shitty behavior. Your husband does not have your back. He is not a great guy. I'm sorry. Plenty of advice here on what to do, but please see your husband clearly. If he had stepped up, you would not be in this position. Take care of yourself.